Hello everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Crew podcast. My name is Kinger and as always I'm joined by Mark.
How are you?
By Nally.
Well.
And by Walshy.
Evening.
I'm always waiting now to see what Walshy's going to say when I introduce him because it was bonjour last week.
I wouldn't mind.
The
I was thinking
the doctor was in the house 2 weeks ago and he just says evening. It's very disappointing.
Just as you started, I was like, shit, I said bonjour last week. What's hello in another language? And I couldn't think of anything off the spot.
Guten Tag, hola.
Oh yeah, it's all well and good now. In hindsight now, Kinger. But do you know what I mean?
Can I just say he didn't even remember hello in English?
That's a great point. Do you know what? If he said evening in French, I wouldn't know what he said. So,
I don't know evening.
Yeah, fair.
Speaking of evenings, I'm actually enjoying doing the podcast when it's bright out now. It's
mad, isn't it?
It's mad, yeah. It's very mad. It's gluten-free beers this week. We didn't discuss a fairly well-known gluten-free beer. Nothing springs to mind. It's the first time in the podcast that we're having two different styles. So we're having a Pilsner and we're having a Session IPA. But we'll get back to those in a few minutes. So, Nally, do you want to start us off with a couple of gluten-free beer facts?
Can do, yeah. So, gluten-free beers, they're made much the same process as regular beers. The thing with the gluten-free beers is obviously that you can't have, well, there's a discussion on it, but the main thing is that you can't have malted barley and that around because of the gluten that's in them. So what's been done to make gluten-free beers, there's a couple of ways people have done it. One of them is there's this, it's not a grain really, it's a grass, it's called sorghum. So they've used sorghum as the malt, as your grain bill is essentially, and it's naturally gluten-free, so it is. So they've used that for the base of the beer and then gone on through the rest of the process as normal to, hop it and ferment it as well. Just like you would with normal beer. The other thing that you kind of get with beer, with gluten-free beer, especially for anyone who's doing any home brewing with it, a lot of homebrewers tend to use liquid yeast extract because a lot of the time it kind of survives better and you get more fermentation from it. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. But you can't actually use that if you're trying to make a gluten-free beer because the yeast extract, the liquid one, that's made using malt. So it's made using normal malt to keep the yeast alive and to build up the stock and stuff like that. So if you have to go through a heap of trouble to try and keep everything gluten-free, using sorghum, using all these different things, and then right at the end you just bang in a heap of the liquid malt or liquid yeast, you've basically just gone to all that effort for nothing. So yeah, there's a discussion as well. Some brewers think that beer is essentially gluten-free anyway, because during the process of the yeast breaking down and fermentation, there is a case to be said that the gluten has been broken down through the yeast activity itself. So there's not actually any gluten left in the beer. It's been converted during the process of fermentation. Now, there's a couple of studies that show that that is the case, and then there's one or two studies that show that it doesn't break it down completely. But in some countries, once it's less than a certain level, it's actually classified as gluten-free, even though there might still be parts of gluten in it. Once it's under a certain level, it's classified as gluten-free anyway. So some brewers think that all beer is essentially gluten-free. But celiacs and people with the actual, celiac disease, they can still have a reaction to it, which, I don't know if that means it is completely gluten-free.
Yeah.
So the actual limit, for anyone who's wondering, there's a numerical value on it, and it's 20 parts per million. So it's 20 ppm. And if it has 20 or below parts per million of gluten in the final tested product, it's considered gluten-free. And just to throw it out there, that's also the allowable limit for poisonous heavy metals in your food. So they share the same limit, which I thought was a bit interesting.
You said poisonous metal. I thought you were going to break into another heavy metal song there for a minute, Mark.
So you were telling me, Mark, the choice is between some gluten and, I don't know, like arsenic or lead or something.
No, you can have both, Nally, once they're just not above 20 ppm each, you know. It's only the metals that are grouped together. So you can have like 19 ppm of gluten and then 19 ppm of heavy metals. And, you know.
Excellent.
Like a random assortment of heavy metals, not just one.
Yeah, like get some arsenic,
okay.
get some lead, some molybdenum, you know, some palladium, platinum, whatever you want, baby. You can put it in there. Throw in some zinc, you know, whatever.
It's just getting rid of that Chinese 7 spice into heavy metal 7 spice. That's why those spice bags are so good lately.
I like, instead of looking at beers only, I looked at what gluten. What is gluten included in, and like the list of stuff that gluten is in is unbelievable. So obviously everyone knows, like, well, we all assumed it was in beer. Bread is the big one, but like energy bars, chips, just like chocolate bars, sweets, soups, some meats contain gluten naturally, which I thought was mental. But the ones that got me, that I was like, I can't believe gluten is in this stuff, is like lipstick, lip gloss, lip balms, like cosmetic stuff, oral hygiene stuff, like mouthwashes, toothpaste, communion wafers, if you're that way inclined to go to mass and stuff, herbal and nutritional supplements. Well, yeah, bread, yeah. Herbal or nutritional supplements, medicines, vitamins, and weirdly, Play-Doh, which I find mental that gluten is in Play-Doh. I don't know why it would be there, but I'm sure you two scientists would have a reason.
Well, I know you can make like homemade Play-Doh from flour and like food colouring and water, I think. Okay. So obviously Play-Doh has some sort of wheat-based...
Some derivative ingredient, okay. Yeah, well, there you go.
Unlike Kinger, I did not look up anything gluten-free at all, because I don't know where to begin.
Because it's a gluten-free episode, so why would you...
Yeah, exactly. So I just looked up.
Brief, Walty.
I just looked up some, fun beer facts.
Can this be a new feature? Can we just have like Walshy's random fact as like nothing to do with the episode? Just I'll get some music up. It's Walshy's random fact, and it's just like nothing to do with that style at all. That works for me.
It's like, did you know the Barbie was made in 1972?
If that's okay, here I have the power of the edit. That's it. I'm cutting it there, and we're moving on to the next fact.
I mean, you can make this a thing if you want, but just remember, 2 weeks ago you didn't even have a fact.
It's true, because I was too busy getting the game together.
Yeah, fair enough. No, but I thought this was interesting, right? You know the term rule of thumb? I don't know if you know this. Originates from brewers who would stick their thumb into the mix to see when the temperature was right for adding the yeast.
Wow.
Ah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, guys, so one of the beers we're going to be trying today is from Siren Brewery. Okay, it's their Lumina Session Ipa. And as you may remember, way back when, in our Stouts episode, we had Siren's Broken Dream on. And it did not get a very good response from us. So we've obviously talked previously about the 3 strikes and you're out rule. And this is only the second brewery that we featured twice, I think, on the podcast. The other one was Galway Bay, who had our first unbelievable rating with their Foam and Fury double IPA. And their Red Ale also was very well received. So Siren are coming to this second installment very differently, because if this is another bad beer, then they're going to be the new like name we're dropping out, as in like your brewery shit. You're like Siren. Okay, they're going to become that person until they can prove us wrong. Okay? So I looked into them. They are based in a place called Finchampstead in Woking Borough. So it's just south of Reading. So it's near enough London or whatever. But like it's this tiny little village that's like the 31st wealthiest part of Britain. It's like the most desirable part of Britain to live in. They have this old Roman highway running through it called the Devil's Highway. You know, it's this really quaint country village. Think Hot Fuzz, that kind of village, except maybe wealthier. And Siren Brewery is based out of there. So maybe it's their lofty upper class ways that don't appeal to us general working class stiffs here.
Yeah.
And maybe their brews are aimed at the upmarket London Soho market and not us. But they've a lot of work to do today, and I'm building it up as a big a big day for Siren, because if this goes badly, you know, they're one strike away from being ostracized from the craft beer industry by us.
Excommunication from the Crafty crew.
Genuinely scared for them now.
Communicado.
Okay, so that's Siren's Lumina, so we know that's coming. So do you want to introduce us to our first gluten beer that we're going to try this week, and we'll crack them open?
Yeah, so we're going to go with Curious Society's Pilsner Lager. So let's crack them open, guys.
Just as we're opening it, lads, I have a interesting thing I noticed about these. In an off license there one of the days, as you do, doing a bit of shopping, I noticed this can, because I'm sure Mark will talk about the design of the can. It kind of caught my eye, and I was asking one of the lads, and apparently this is Larkin's way of trying to compete with the likes of Budweiser, Carling, you know, like the multi-packs, the 8-packs. So they have this Curious Society range. I think they have a wheat beer and a red ale version as well that I haven't got to see yet. But yeah, it's their way of competing, and kind of at that kind of around price range as well, which I think is a cool. It's still that kind of 8-pack grand, but it's still craft beer, which is ideal for all involved.
Hands in the air, right? I didn't even know this was Larkin's.
No, at first I didn't realise it myself until I kind of actually properly looked at the can.
Yeah, it's kind of different from their general artwork as well. I know we kind of spoke last week about I think it was last week anyway, about the artwork and how, you know, for example, Yellow Belly has the same kind of character. This is different than what they normally have. You know, like they've had the single hop range where they have the kind of head that I don't know if anyone knows, you know, anyone listening, the band Tool, but the kind of artwork from Tool and the head from that is kind of on the front of the cans, which are cool. But these are different.
Nally, I'm so happy you've managed to get a Tool reference into the podcast. Like, I love Tool. Nobody else loves Tool, and it's just such a pleasure to mention them in the podcast. So, you know, happy days.
I got you.
It's a quality can design.
I'll let you get onto it in a sec, Mark. The only thing that it reminds me kind of is I don't know if anyone, you know, South Park. You remember the Christmas Critters episode? So that's all I can think of when I see the front of this can.
Yeah, I was going in a similar direction. It's like a fox, a stag, a hare, and a mouse, and it looks like they have the implements to take over the world. Like the fox is holding a little globe, the hare has a load of chemicals, the mouse is looking into a telescope, and the deer has some sort of unfurled scroll, probably full of evil plans or something, you know. But yeah, it's like the Christmas Critters.
It's interesting what you see when you just glance at something. I thought they were in a rowboat. I thought the telescope was like an oar when I just glanced at it. Now I realise you're sitting around a table of like random stuff.
What is wrong with you?
I know, yeah.
In a forest.
I see the forest. I see the forest now. Yeah.
At first I thought Alice in Wonderland, but then when you said Christmas Critters, like, yeah, no, that makes a hell of a lot more sense than Alice in Wonderland, because it just looked like sitting around a table, but then if you kind of look closer.
And the other thing is that, you know, when we did the Kinnegard there, the black IPA, we couldn't tell what animal it was. So Walshy, just for clarification, that's a fox and definitely not a dragon this time.
Okay. We never determined the last one was a fox either.
In terms of kind of colour, it's very...
It's lager.
It's lager, like it's that kind of...
Yeah.
I mean, it is
very see-through.
But 100% King, and just as you were saying, getting us back to clarity, like that is super clear.
Super clear.
No haze in that at all.
Zero.
Absolutely.
Zero haze. Yeah.
It smells
like lager.
Yeah, it smells like lager. It's. I like how Walshy was saying it's their attempt at a kind of mainstream lower cost lager, because it does kind of tick the first 3 boxes for that: the appearance, the odor, and also the mouthfeel. It's like got that crispness of a lager, you know, that kind of bites off the back of your tongue.
It definitely tastes better than it smells. Like, it has that, I know we said it before, that distinctive cat pissy kind of like nearly like ammonia type smell.
It's very stale tasting and smelling.
Do you think?
I think it's the same taste, but it's just when you start drinking it, it's in your mouth and not your nose. Yeah. And so it's just lesser. Yeah, it's probably our fault for bringing a lager into this group of people, but this isn't going well.
I like it.
Well,
I like it, I have to say.
it's not necessarily just a lager. It's Pilsner.
Pilsner, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of, but I will say that it's not the worst. It's better than the other Pilsner we had. That's for sure. For me, anyway, definitely. I'm just wondering. I wonder. So this can, I was just looking at the ingredients there on it, and it has barley in it. So barley has, gluten in it. So I wonder what process they've used to kind of strip the gluten out of this, since it is gluten free.
There is a second process, Nally, you didn't kind of talk about at the start. It's where they add types of enzymes that will eat through the broken down gluten. So gluten gets broken down into glutenin and gliadin, I think. And there are enzymes that will break that down and force it out of solution. So it says it's double filtered on the can as well. So I imagine the double filtering is to remove the gluten that the enzyme has kind of eaten out of solution.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I just like to think that it's probably just because beer doesn't have gluten in it, and it's fine anyway.
It also says here in the can that it's double filtered. You kind of explain.
Yeah, just said that, Walsh.
Big man, Sky +1.
Yeah, no, I'm just. You see, as you were kind of saying that, I was kind of reading through the can and seeing if I picked up. So I obviously missed out. My apologies. Not like it's the first time it's happened.
It's hard to read, isn't it?
So the thing about this can as well that I like is if you see at the back where it's got the ingredients, it also lists the hops that they've used in this, which is something I always like, because trying being the key word here, trying to make beer at home every so often. It's cool to kind of get an idea of what, the flavors you like from different cans, and knowing what hops have been used in them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool thing, I enjoy that. But as for this beer,
are you gonna
dubious at best.
Are you gonna take a swing at announcing or pronouncing those hops for us?
Oh yeah, no matter. So it's got Saz and Hallertauer Mittelfrau.
Oh, he just dived right in, zero hesitation. They're
super.
What a dick.
Yeah, Saz is like super common in lagers, and it's kind of the original one from Czech Republic. And Hallertau Mittelfrau is a German one, and it's also like really common for lagers and pilsners and stuff. So I've heard it said umpteen times at this stage.
So I'm going to swing us back on topic, because we haven't really been talking too much about how this thing tastes, and I don't think we should forget about that. And I think it's got this bitter staleness to it, that I want to get kind of an assurance or reassurance that I'm not the only one getting this. That it's almost making you slap your lips, because it's kind of gone offy kind of taste to it.
I can't say I get that now, to be honest.
So I don't know if it's the can. Is it like a metallic-y type of a?
Yeah, there's an element of that to it, all right.
I think that's just the lager style in general, that kind of lager pilsner style. Okay. You kind of get that kind of flavor. I get what you were saying, Walty. It makes sense to me now, where you were saying you're kind of trying to tackle, the more mainstream beers in that kind of 8-pack range. Because this is very similar to a few of them. Like, it might be a bit nicer. To be fair to them, I think it's better than some of those other ones that are in that range. And I would, if I was going to be getting one of them and I saw this, I might pick this up just out of support for like a craft brewery trying to do something different and trying to. Because the thing with craft beers is generally you're not getting multi-packs of them.
Yeah.
And we all, we enjoy them a good bit, so you're generally not getting multi-packs of them. And the fact that you go out, I like the fact that it's a pick and mix. You can go out and get single cans of this or that or whatever. But it's also, it might be nice, to have this 8-pack and be like, we're off out to the lads whenever the hell we can again. But if you were off out to the lads to watch a match or something, and instead of picking up an 8-pack of Coors or Budweiser or something, you can pick up an 8-pack of this, because you're not changing through a heap of beers, different percentages, different styles. Sometimes that can get a bit heavy over the course of a night.
Yeah.
If you're on one for the night and you can pick up an 8-pack of this, that's not a bad shout, I think.
I don't know if this is very drinkable. The more I get out of it, and Kinger kind of sprung out with the word metallic, that's resounding in my head. The more metal taste I'm getting out of this, Maybe it's just a can.
It's weird, isn't
my
it?
particular can, but it's getting stronger. Like, I'm getting further away from the lager taste and more towards the metallic kind of twang.
Nally swamped it, so we know what that means. Well, we know it's one of two things. It's not very carbonated. Is that a feature of lager? Would lager normally be fairly carbonated?
I mean, I think that usually they tend to be, pretty crisp and refreshing, so maybe it was a bit more carbonated at the start. Maybe it's just dissipated really quick.
Yeah.
But no, I get what you mean. I don't think it's overly carbonated at all. It's stored for 4 weeks, is it?
4 weeks, yeah.
4 weeks, yeah. So it's lagered for 4 weeks as well. It could be if it's escaping out of it somehow or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah,
I feel like we don't have a whole to say about it, so we'll be
on the complete opposite side to you. As craft lagers go, this would be one of the better ones I've had, except for one in particular. But I like for what this is, their attempt at the APAC. I'd 100% buy this, and I have done over any of the mainstream ones.
I drank a Rockshore yesterday. I had one bottle of it, and that's kind of fresh in my head as a lager, as mainstream lager, say these days. And this is worse than that.
I disagree.
Well, this is where
okay.
the
Well,
beauty
personal preference.
This is where the Crafty Crew rating system comes into play, and as we know, it's the world's leading rating system when it comes to beer. It starts as always as unbeerable, and then it's booze. Middle of the road is just beer. If it's drinkable, it's beautiful, and if it's out of this world, it's a unbeerleavable. So, Nally, I feel like Nally wants to kick us off here with this one.
Yeah, sure, I may as well. It is 4.75%, so it is a bit heavier than a bit more to it than, say, the regular lagers that we're talking about, the Rockshore that you mentioned, Mark, or Coors and stuff like that. For me, I really like the idea of what they're trying to do here, of getting that kind of APAC craft beer into that kind of price range.
Yeah,
I like the idea. I think it's a really good concept. If it can be pulled off properly. I'm not a big fan of Pilsner in the first place, so that doesn't help it. So, but I think this isn't the worst example I've had of Pilsner. So I'll give it a just beer. It's definitely better than that other one we had. Who was that? Trinity,
yeah.
Trinity, Third Circle,
yeah.
Trinity.
Third Circle, yeah.
God, that was terrible. Yeah. So it's definitely better than that for me. So I'll give this a just beer, and major props on the can. The artwork is class. Big fan.
I'll probably back you up there and say it's just beer as well. I feel like it doesn't do enough wrong to warrant a booze for me. It's not super crisp, and it does leave that little bit of a... I can't place the taste. It's not quite metallic, but it... when you come out of a dentist after an appointment or a clean, it's that kind of mouthfeel, like very... It's just strange, and it's just not exactly what I was expecting. So I would say just beer. Nothing out of the ordinary, but probably wouldn't mind having it again on a nice kind of breezy day or whatever,
I'm kind of not agreeing with you too much, Kinger and Ali. I think that it lacks a bit of crispness, as you said, Kinger, which would kind of maybe improve it a bit.
Yeah.
It's got, like you said, metallic, and I can't get that word out of my head now. It's got a taste that lingers around. That's pretty strong aftertaste, and it's not very pleasant. It is kind of a metallic-y, dentisty kind of vibe. I'm sure if we did actually place it, it would snap in our heads like, oh my god, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not terrible though either. I'm not going to say it's a terrible beer. There's a lot right with it. I'm just going to say it's a booze for me. But like it's not one that I'd be absolutely hate if I had to drink again. I won't ever go and buy this. If I see it, I will choose not to buy it, kind of thing. But if it's given to me, I guess I'll probably drink it. But it's a booze for me.
Right. I have a tendency to kind of go even a bit higher than the 2 buys. For what this is and what they're aiming for, I personally really enjoy it. I would 100% buy this 8-pack. You know, you're going to barbecue, party, or whatever, and you want an 8-pack of the same stuff. I will buy this 100 times quicker than I will, you know, your Canadians, your Rockshores, your Budweiser, any of them, easily. So, like, it's a lager. It is what it is. But for what it is, I think it's beautiful, to be perfectly honest with you. I really enjoy it. And you know, if it was in the off license tomorrow and it was a sunny day, I'd buy an 8-pack first thing in the morning. Not first thing in the morning, but you know what I mean.
Why not?
Well, we have to wait.
What's wrong with that?
Well, they don't open till about 12, so.
It could also be symptomatic of a problem as well. So.
Do you know what I mean? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I hopped open Untapped and looked at the suggested flavors for it, and Grassy was there, and I'm like, that's exactly what it tastes like. It tastes like grass.
And moving swiftly on, I think that gives Curious Society's gluten-free Pilsner a Just Beer from the Crafty Crew podcast. Is that right?
Just beer, yeah.
Yeah,
down the middle.
there we go.
Nothing wrong, nothing great, but there you go.
Can't argue with that.
But 100% props to them though for trying to get into that particular part of the market. I think they definitely deserve credit for that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's great to see a craft beer or a craft brewery trying to get in there. So it is.
Yeah. So a mate of mine sent me that video that goes around from Waterford Whispers every now and again, and it was that video of local wanker picks or takes 45 minutes to pick a beer. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So we had a quick discussion about he said 85% of craft beers turn out to be shit in his mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So he said he went through a phase a couple of years ago, and he's at a point now where he just wants to enjoy having a drink in a pub. So whatever's available, he's happy to just go with that. So I guess my question is, do you think without the lockdowns and having to drink more at home, would you have tried as many craft beers as you have?
Yeah, I'll kick this off. Definitely not. 100% no. And I think it's the lockdowns have forced us to live in a different way. And I'm sure everybody has their own experience with it, but none of our lives are like unaffected. And one of the main things obviously is the lack of a social life. You can't go to the pub or whatever. And I think when you are kind of, playing sport or, doing whatever hobby it is you have outside of work, you're working full time, you've got your hobby, and then you're just like maybe once or twice a week, you're like, go out with your friends to the pub. You don't really think about what you're going to drink. It's more like I want to hang out with my friends and we're going to the pub, so whatever's there is what I'll deal with. But I will say this, I think so many more people will have discovered craft beer and gotten into it or expanded their palate or whatever over the last 18 months since the pubs kind of like fully closed and stuff, that I would really hope that when things start opening again, we continue the trend that we were seeing in terms of like craft breweries opening a bar either in their brewery or somewhere else. Like I know Rascals and Brewdog had both opened pubs in Dublin City, separate to breweries, just to have that bar, and they sell all their range in it, most of it on draft, but it's all there even if it's a bottle or a can. And I really hope that we continue that trend of like maybe not even breweries opening bars, but just bars embracing the craft beer kind of culture. There's one pub in Dublin in particular called the Wiley Fox. I don't know if it was closed before lockdown or if it's going to open again, but it was a bar that basically I think it had Heineken and Guinness and Bulmers, and then every other drink at the bar was a craft beer, and there was like 30 or 40 different things. And it, like basically if you went in different weeks, they'd have different stuff, like because they were obviously buying it from warehouses. And I kind of think it would be a much better world if we had that after lockdown.
Okay.
At least the option, anyway.
Yeah, see, the thing is, to have the option, the pubs and stuff, they do have to make money.
Yeah.
You have to accept that. Like, so if everyone's just drinking Guinness and Heineken all the time, they're just that's all they're gonna sell. But I'm just hoping that over the lockdown, people will have experienced a bit more. They'll have tried a few new things. Obviously the several thousand people listening to this podcast will hopefully have gotten more into craft beer over the last 12 weeks as well. So hopefully all that has a positive impact on the country.
Eternal optimism. I love it.
I'll jump in there, and I agree, Mark. I don't think I would have drank anywhere near as many in a variety context of it now. We have our local brewery down the road, and it has a bar. And if that was open, I know myself and Nally, and anytime I go down, we'll try pretty much all of them down there. But we've got some.
Cool.
We buy most of our stuff online, but I probably wouldn't have been buying as many beers online if it wasn't for the lockdown, if at all. There's a few pubs in town. They have maybe 2 or 3 different types of craft. There's one there that has Franciscan Well. It has a couple of varieties of that. Another one has some other ones. Very rare, not a huge variety, but nowhere near to the extent that we have over the last year or so.
Just when the pubs do reopen and stuff, and you're organising drinking sessions with Nally, seeing as we're in the same town, can I get an invite as well, or?
I'm sure you can tag along, yeah.
Oh,
if the wife lets you.
Your invite? Did you not get your invite yet, Kinger?
Oh, you didn't get one.
Got an invite.
You certainly didn't get one. Don't worry.
Well, I mean, Nelly, go on.
Yeah, so I think I'd echo the boys' sentiments mainly. However, it wouldn't be as much, but even before the lockdowns and stuff, like I'd be getting a delivery every so often of different types just to try, because it's something I enjoy. It's a bit of it's something I enjoy, and it's grand for if you're at home, or if I'm going somewhere, or up to the if you're going off somewhere and you're there for a day or two, it's grand to get a mix of stuff. Or if I'm in an off license, I would always make sure I'd be picking up 1 or 2 new ones that I hadn't tried before, just out of the sheer curiosity more than anything else. But I don't think it would be to the same extent that I tried them in the past year. I'd say maybe cut the numbers in half for the amount I would try. But
okay.
Yeah, it's still. I think it would still be a fair bit though. Like,
the one thing the lockdown has done well for, and like craft breweries, I don't know in terms of business, but how they've done, but in terms of a consumer buying from them, they have seemed to expanded an awful lot. And maybe that the buying online has kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, but it's only a good thing for craft beer enthusiasts, because if the market gets bigger, if more people are willing to try stuff, it means that when those breweries start and they make their IPA, they make so much money off it that they can experiment sooner, or they can do things just for the sake of the brew, as opposed to doing it to kind of make enough money to keep going. Which is only a good thing for people like us who want to try new and exciting styles. Yeah,
I think another good thing for just from the lockdown itself, something that might have come out of it. Now, not certain, but it's something that could have come out of it. Because the breweries and stuff, anyone that has tap rooms, they're not in there working as well as brewing now at the minute. So, for me, it seems like there's been like almost a micro explosion of the variety that's out there at the minute. Like Kinger talks about it every so often, about how his absolute love of stouts and how nothing comes near them. But it's even with those stouts now, like a while ago you'd see, there'd be milk stouts and you'd have a couple of them. But now there's, Kinger's favorite one, that double raspberry cheesecake stout. Right. These are coming out now, which could be just people, during the lockdown get bored and giving things a go, which is, for me, I think that's great.
I found it more interesting when I was chatting to Adam, because my wife will tell you, like, before any lockdowns, I might go 6-7 months and not drink at all, like just not even trying, just not going out.
Boo.
Not been arsed. I know.
Look at you, Mr. Healthy, huh?
No, and it's not. It's definitely isn't a health choice, because I'm far too overweight for my age. But I just not been arsed, and not like, maybe it's because maybe playing sport on a Sunday morning. I can't be dealing with a hangover and like just stuff like that.
Why?
But,
Why not? What's wrong with that?
no, can't be dealing with it.
We're all
But
not a professional like yourself, Nelly.
definitely, and I know it's probably not a great kind of look, but just the fact that there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, like looking forward to even sitting at home and having a couple of beers on a Friday or Saturday night, and to kind of not be having the same thing over and over again, like not just having a can of Budweiser or a can of Miller or a, whatever, or a pint of can of Guinness. Try new things, and like, okay, I've said before that I don't get the whole, strawberry and banana milkshake stout fucking thing, but like, try it and give like at least
Strawberry and
Try
banana
it.
stout. Sounds unreal.
Sounds fantastic.
it's worth trying, and if you like it, great, and if not, you know not to go back there again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kinga, maybe just that you're saying it there now, it kind of strike a chord, like the way you're saying that, going home and not just be having the same thing every time you're having it. Like,
Yeah.
do you reckon it's probably because there's almost a monotony on every day? Every day is the same now.
Yeah,
so
100%.
That little pleasure that you're getting from having a few cans, you're like,
Yeah.
if I have to drink the same freaking can after doing the exact same thing all week, I'll melt.
Yeah.
So being able to have that choice and that variety is a bit more of a pleasure or something,
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay, Mark, do you want to introduce us to our second gluten-free beer of the week?
Yeah, so we're going to be trying Siren Brewery's Lumina. It's a session IPA. It's 4.2%, which, Nally, you'll be able to tell me, is that a little high for a session even?
I reckon it's probably just on the edge of the the upper end of session IPAs, but it's not. It's still okay. It's still sessionable. I think it's not a micro IPA or anything like that where you're looking at the lower 2.5 strength. But yeah.
Before we open these, might be one of my favorite cans of all time.
Yeah, I am loving the artwork.
It's cool.
It's pretty cool. It's like
So if we
a lady who's blue and there's this like white flash right in the middle of the can, and so the underside of it is this girl with like flowing blue hair and silver in it as well, and then the rest is like planets and galaxies and comets and stuff. So it's
Coming out
almost
of
like
her head, like
her mind is considering
yeah.
the cosmos. Yeah.
it's a female version of Dr. Manhattan for anyone who's seen Watchmen.
Ah, yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Good shout.
I am raging that it's not a label, and it's like literally part of the can. It's obviously like painted on or whatever.
for your wall.
If it was a label for my wall, this would be unbelievable on it.
Yeah, it would,
And
actually.
I hate that when that happens. There's a few cans that I'd love to have, like a lot of the yellow belly ones, but they have like it's plastic the whole way around the can, which kills me. But
Yeah.
I think the other thing with this is, Mark, you were saying that how the Siren hadn't exactly, left in good light when we tried them the first time. I think they've gotten a bit of a hand here because we've gone from a Pilsner, which all of us can agree is not our favourite style of beer, to an IPA being our next one. And I feel like IPAs may have an upper hand. So if this turns out to be absolute muck, we can't say that we didn't give them a fair shake. Like we've given them all the advantage we can going into this.
The conditions are perfect, okay, and I looked up what lumina means, and it just means light or illumination, depending on how frisky you want to get with your translation. But yeah, Walshy likes the frisky translations.
telling you now, boys, huh?
Bonjour.
But let's crack these. Let's crack these open, and let's see what Siren can do on take number 2.
Cool. Based on smell alone, I want this to be unbelievable. Before I taste it, but just on the smell, that's one of my favorite smelling beers I've ever smelled.
Like if you see under the session IPA, like it's saying Lumia is our shining light glowing with juicy tropical fruit notes and with citrus highlights. That's exactly what I'm smelling, and it's glorious.
Well, before we go ahead and taste it, like just to smash through the colour as well, it's a typically hazy IPA. It's quite light in colour though. It's almost a yellowy tint rather than the normal orange you would normally see with your standard IPAs. It looks quite carbonated as well.
It does.
But yeah, I agree with you. It smells fantastic, and hopefully the taste can live up to that smell.
Okay. Okay.
Kinger didn't quite cream himself.
I thought he was there for a minute when he went, and then he went, okay, and stroked his, like, schmig or whatever.
It doesn't quite live up to the smell.
No.
I think most of the flavour is in the smell. So when you tip your glass towards your mouth, you get that nice smell of it off the head, and it's really got this nice floral, fruity flavour, notes of citrus, notes of hops, and then you taste it, and there's this very slight amount of that there, but it's kind of a bit bland, a little bit. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's super carbonated though. It's really refreshing, I think. I definitely. I think for it being a session IPA as well, it's that low alcohol. So the point of a session IPA being you can smash them and go through a couple of them without getting too bad. I think I'm gonna get ahead of myself, but I'm really liking this. I'd agree with you. There's not too much there. It's not it's not a whole load going on, but I think what is there is there's nothing wrong with any of what's there. Like, there might not be enough there, but anything that I am getting, it's absolutely on point. Like,
yeah, and one thing I will say that's a big compliment for this beer. A lot of the time with sessions, because the alcohol percentage can go down to into the 3s or whatever, it loses some of that full body mouthfeel, and it kind of gets into this watery zone where you're like, I can almost tell that this has been watered down. Maybe it obviously maybe it hasn't. It's just the brew style, but you can kind of get hints of water in it. This, whether it's the brew or whether it's the fact that it's up at 4.2, which is your normal kind of American light lager percentage, it retains that nice full body. And even against something like a Coors or a Heineken or a Budweiser, which is a similar percentage, it has a much richer character than those kind of drinks. So yeah, I would agree with you, Nally. There's a lot on point here.
yeah, I think the other side of it as well is, I know I was saying it's quite crisp and refreshing, but it's not overly carbonated. Like those other beers you mentioned at this kind of percentage, you have a pint of that and you're fairly full for a few minutes, like it's quite gassy. This isn't.
And the pleasant aroma means that you don't mind that little bit of aftertaste.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's, like, we've talked about carbonation an awful lot here, but like carbonation really is dependent on taste. So if you're tasting the nicest beer you've ever had, you want no carbonation.
Yeah.
Because you want that taste in your mouth the whole time. But if it's terrible, you want a lot of carbonation to take it away. And this just has kind of, I would say, below average carbonation, but a very pleasant taste, which means that you don't mind it sticking around.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. It's just below, but I think the amount that's there is just right for this. It helps carry it enough, like before kind of clearing off the palate.
The more I've drank it now, I think the initial taste was I was probably a bit too excited about the smell, and it wasn't quite matching it. But I think the more I drink it, maybe the fact that it's settled a bit, or whatever, or maybe the carbonation has kind of dissipated a small bit as well. It's definitely nicer as the beer goes on. Again, we kind of talk about sometimes the size of the can. So this is a 330ml can, so it's only a small can. So session IPA, you could definitely crack 5 or 6 of these in a session and like no problem,
One thing I've talked about before is drinkability, and how testers should drink a can the whole way through, because a beer can change its flavour over the time of you drinking it. This is particularly important with session IPAs. The entire point of them is that you can go on and smash fucking 20 of these and they don't wear your palate out. You still get the taste as you drink a load of them. Your body can handle it, obviously to reasonable extents. Drink in moderation, or slightly more than moderation. This is something we have to really consider with the session IPAs. And I know this isn't our sessions episode, but this is a session, so we will consider it. And it probably lives up to that. I don't see any reason it wouldn't. Now maybe as I get towards the end of this drink, I'll change my mind. But right now, about 60% through it, it's staying very, very solid and consistent.
Yeah, if anything, Mark, usually when we say this about testers needing to finish the entire pint before, they give their opinion rather than just the first couple of sips. Generally, when we mention that on this podcast, it's because the beer has gone to shit near the end.
Yeah.
However, I think it might be the inverse in this case. I like that at the start, but I think this is nearly nicer as it gets near the end. That kind of tropical smell that you were getting at the start, the flavour is a bit more there towards the end. I think this might be getting a little bit better as you get through it.
I'm wondering, Nally and King are just talking about how this is kind of getting better as it's going on. The kind of slight undercarbonation that leaves the lingering aftertaste, which is a nice aftertaste but quite subtle. I wonder if, as you drink more of it, the taste is increased by, more and more aftertaste or the kind of taste building up on your palate. And at the start, what's quite a subtle aftertaste, and you're kind of like, oh, there's nothing really there. By the time you finish the beer, you're getting that full flavour at the back of your tongue every time you drink it. And I think that is playing a big part here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it, Mark. But I think that might work in its benefit. Like we're saying, the carbonation is more at the start. So the point of a session being you're able to have a few. If you crack open another one of them and it's crisp and fresh just out of the fridge and it's cold, the carbonation is there. It's going to get rid of that taste again, and you're starting again from scratch.
Going off kind of Kinger's initial instinct, you kind of get that smell and you kind of nearly half expect it going into it, and you're like, that's not what that is at the beginning. But no more than you have said, as you get on, and I don't know if it's you kind of get used to what it is. It's gorgeous. I think it's lovely, and as it says, it's definitely sessionable. You could knock a load of these. If these were 440 cans, I'd have no problem necking a few of these either. Absolutely no issue whatsoever. Percentage is nice. 4.2 is grand for, in comparison to like the ones they normally have. If they had like an 8-pack or a 12-pack of these every day of the week, no problem whatsoever.
Okay, well, do you want to continue your role, Walshy, and start us off with our first rating for this one?
Straight up beautiful.
A rating of few
I don't
words.
think it's...
I like it.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's lovely. It's very sessionable, easy drink. There's nothing there that makes it, out of this world or next level. But there's nothing wrong with it. What it, like Nally was saying a few minutes ago, what it does right, and it does it very well.
I really wanted to hate Siren's second entry in this podcast, just for the chance to put somebody down. But regardless of what I give this, it's a really solid, really delicious beer. So they're not going to be the new Third Circle, so they're safe from that shame. But I think the only other beer I've had in this podcast where I've been disappointed not to have finished it, so that I don't have more to drink, has been Of Foam and Fury from Galway Bay, which I gave an unbelievable. And I think this is right up there. It ticks pretty much every box for a session. It's got a delicious taste. It's very drinkable. A full body, which is unusual for me with sessions. I always find they're a little bit watery. That's why I tend to stick with the normal IPAs when I can. But it's almost got that full IPA taste. It's really delicious flavour. And, I can't say enough good about this. And it's flipped my opinion, because I did have a bit of a negative opinion of the brewery, being the first beer I had. This is the second beer I had, and the first wasn't very good in my opinion. But this is a smashing beer. Now, I know Nally had said earlier we tried a Pilsner first, so conditions are made for it to get a good rating.
Favourable, yeah. But
I do think it stands up on its own legs and deserves it. So I'll pass it over to Nally for his opinion.
Do you reckon, Mark, that since you've had their last beer and this one, it's about 10 episodes in the difference, so maybe all of your, tough smacking at the start and giving out about where they're from and stuff, maybe it's caught up with you, man. Maybe your palate is just, more in tune at this stage after a couple of episodes of the Crafty Crew podcast. Maybe you're one of the uppities now.
like it has been approximately 12 weeks, and that's 3 months, and I've only been on Untapped since October, but like three months is it's half my Untapped lifetime. So yeah, it could be that my palate has changed since I've had the Siren. The one thing I would say with that, Nally, is I had the Siren Broken Dream last week and still thought it was shite. So
Good to see some things don't change.
On one hand he giveth, and on the other hand he taketh away. Nally, where are you landing on this one?
Paul Walsh. No, I didn't. Paul Walsh, turn off the match and listen to the goddamn podcast.
I can see his
I'm
eyes.
watching the match, and I know what he's saying.
No,
like.
but Mark didn't actually give a rating. He's like, oh, I'll pass it on.
Yeah.
He did. He said
he said it was
the only beer he's had on this podcast that he's sad he didn't have more to drink was of foam.
Yeah, I heard that.
So
but I
he
didn't
said
hear
it's
him
right,
actually
it's right,
say the word.
It's right up there with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But
then I
he
said
never said
it's an unbelievable for me, and then I went into all the reasons why it is an unbelievable for
Okay,
me.
I didn't hear the unbelievable. I heard everything else.
Nally, sorry, continue.
It's a rough one today. Yeah, so this is easy for me though. This is a beautiful beer. I really enjoyed it. I thought, the carbonation was just right. It wasn't for a session IPA, like you were saying, Mark. It's not. There is enough flavour there to carry it as well. You're not disappointed with it. The 4.2% is good. I know we're saying it's kind of maybe on the higher mark for a session IPA, but I'm okay with that. I'm certainly not going to argue with it. It smells class. The colour was grand. It's not too hazy. It's still, you can still see through it. It's not like an orange juice type of look to it. Yeah, I really like that beer. It's beautiful. It's not quite unbeerleavable, but yeah, definitely a beautiful beer for me.
Well, for you, let's see what Kinger has to say.
Yeah, I look, as I said at the very start of this beer, I based on smell alone, I was aiming for unbelievable straight away, but the initial tasting was slightly disappointing, and maybe it's my own expectations fucked it up. So that's harsh on the brewery, to be fair. The more I drank it, definitely the more I enjoyed it. That, like, I know, Natalie, you said it's not like super juicy, but there is a lot of like fruity flavors that come through right at the end, and maybe like Mark was saying, it is the more you're drinking it, the more aftertaste you have, and then you're just topping up the aftertaste essentially. So like anything below a Brutiful for this, I think, would be an absolute travesty. So it's a Brutiful beer. It doesn't quite get to unbelievable for me. If the taste was anywhere near the smell, it would have been unbelievable for me. But I think it's just Brutiful. I definitely would get some of these again. And like, for anyone who has a gluten intolerance or is celiac, like, this is an unbelievable beer that you can have. Like, it's, that thing of like when someone is gluten free or has celiac disease, their options are limited, and like stuff can be bland, or restaurants might not offer that option or whatever. But like, when a brewery is putting this stuff out there that you can enjoy a craft beer at that kind of that level, I think it's very impressive. So I think well done to Siren, and they've definitely redeemed themselves. They've definitely redeemed themselves after their stout, which was fucking brutal.
Shocking.
Yeah. Right, so Siren's Lumina Gluten-Free Session IPA earns a well-respected Brutiful from the Crafty Crew podcast, and I say well done.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fair play.
Lads, I'm not going to lie, right? Walshy sent me a suggestion for a game this week, but I feel like it's going to take a little more effort than what I was able to put into it yesterday and today. So I'm going to rehash last week's game, because I feel like it was well received from you guys. However, we have had a suggestion from Newcastle, so I like this suggestion an awful lot, right? So what the difference this week is, I'm going to give you a beer from your Untapped. You're going to give me what you think the rating is you gave it, and whatever the difference is, that will decide who wins and who loses. So after 5 beers, if you are like, in or around, would say, a couple of marks, you're going to do better. And if you're like way off the mark, you're going to do worse, obviously. So just because Walshy came down a bit hard last week on the having a difference of 2 scores, so.
What if you are Mark? Do you get extra points for that?
You don't. You don't.
-2 to start with.
So, Kinger, just to speak to your slightly altered game from last week, the suggestion comes from a fan we have in Newcastle. Big shout out to him, to Olin. And he actually has a real doctorate, and he's after throwing some shade at Mr. Paul Walsh here.
Hello.
Saying that this is the kind of thing that a real doctorate gets you, and none of his bollocksology will ever be recognised.
I mean, I have no proof of this doctorate, but hey, look, do you know what I mean? I'm supposed to take this man at his word. Like, I don't know this man. Like, do you know, and it's established that I have a doctorate in bollocksology. Where's his proof?
The doctorate.
The doctorate.
Oh, so he claims.
Okay, so look, as I said, this week's game is a slight rehash on last week's game. It's going to be a cumulative difference between what you gave the beer originally on Untapped and what you think you gave it now. So we're going to go in reverse order. So it's Nally to go first this week. Not playing favorites, just picking randomly. So let's start it off, because editing this was a fucking nightmare for last week's episode. I'm not going to give the date either, because I feel that was a bit redundant. So let me see. Stephen Nally, your first beer from Untapped is Collective Arts Brewing Hazy State. What do you think you gave it on Untapped?
My first beer, Jesus Christ. How long did it take you to get there?
No, it's not your first one. I'm saying your first one this week. You've got 3 seconds.
Thinking. 3.25.
Ooh, he is out by 0.25. Gave it a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's a good start. Teeny Tiny from Dead Center.
3.75.
Oh, on the button. That's impressive. That's an impressive start from Stephen Nally, I have to say.
It's disconcerting hearing you say my name so many times.
Full name and everything.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like that has not been done in a long time.
Like, is he in trouble?
Journeyman IPA from the Pierce Lyons Brewery.
3.25.
2.75. So you're
okay.
So you're 0.5 out by there. You're out by 0.5 there, right?
I wish this was last week's system. I'd still be in.
This might annoy Walshy that I've given him this one. Founders Green Zebra.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Walshy just put his head in his hands. 3.5.
Oh.
So you're out by 0.5 again.
Still in. This is bullshit, Kinger.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, so your last one for this week is the White Hag's Dark Druid Chocolate Coconut.
3.5.
3.75.
I was gonna say it. God damn it.
0.25 there, which means you were out by a total of 1.5.
Yeah. Oh,
That's a pretty impressive showing.
I think
that's a fantastic start.
We don't know
That is a
that. We don't
fantastic
know
start.
that yet. It's the first time we've done this. It could be shocking.
Mark, this isn't really a craft beer per se, but like you have it on your Untapped. So, San Miguel Premium Especial. What did you give it?
4.0.
Nope, 3.5.
That's me gone.
Not an ideal start. You were very confident with that 4 as well.
Is that my average rating, Kinger, is it? Or is that just one particular time you've pulled it?
That's the one
That's what
particular
I'm
time that
wondering.
I've pulled it from each date. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I didn't get a date though. You didn't tell me a date. You just
He
told
said
me
at
the
the
beer.
He
I'm not
said at the
giving
beginning
dates.
that he wasn't going to give
I'm
dates.
not giving dates.
Ah.
This might be my new favorite name for a beer ever. The Porterhouse Brew Company's Yippee Ipa.
Oh, nice.
Brilliant.
I like it.
What did you give that?
Oh, I'm gonna lose on this. I have no idea. 3.25.
3.75.
Yeah, I'm done.
That's
I'm done.
0.5 again. No, you're still. You can still. If you get all your next three on the nose, you'll be fine. You've had a lot of Kinnegars, man. That's weird.
Recently, I have. Yeah, I kind of went on a bit of a binge after I had Rust Bucket.
Lexington Brewing and Distilling Company, Kentucky IPA.
3.75.
On the
Game on, Mark. Game on.
love to see it. Love to see it. Love to see it.
It's really good, actually.
Oh, a favorite. Well, one of your favorite breweries, I would have to say, Hope Beer. Their summer seasonal 2020. What did you give that?
I said it the last time. I hate to repeat myself, but 3.75.
3.5.
Oh, still in with a chance though.
0.25 in it.
0.25. So you have to get this one like perfect.
Or I could draw. Like a draw in alley is basically like
Well,
an A+ on any
Bullshit.
exam.
That's 2 first place losers then.
okay. This one I feel like you should get.
That means I'm not going.
What the hell?
Yeah, that is a bit.
I feel like you
that's a
should
bit
win. Here's an easy one.
Oh, is it?
What have you rated 2 minutes ago?
You had Harbour Brewing Company's Antipodian IPA or
Fuck yeah.
Antipodian.
Because I drank this like last week. That's why I should get it.
Well, this no. Okay, so the one I've taken it from isn't from last week. I'm just putting it out there.
Well, that changes things. 3.00.
2.00.
Oh, you bastard! I did it again!
Wrong.
Oh, the suspense.
Ah,
The suspense.
Mark, sorry, you are you're 2.25 out total, so that's you out of the running to win this week.
come
Unfortunately.
on.
Walshy, please beat Nally. I can't
Come
stand
on.
him.
Okay, lads, final round. Dr. Paul Walsh has to get better than 1.5 difference.
Come on, Walshy! We believe in you!
Watch me get 2 off the bat.
Mark has never rode in so hard behind Walshy in this podcast until now. Okay, Walshy, the White Hags Puka Lemon Dry Hopped Lemon Sour.
Has to be 375.
4.5.
Or 4.
0.75.
So that's it.
0.75.
What's that a
Another
difference
one
of?
of them, please, Walshy.
You're halfway to losing.
Starting out strong.
That is not a good. That's not a good start. And he
Building
likes
up to
sours as well, like.
Yeah, but I think that was one of the earlier ones I had, so I wasn't.
Beer number 2 for you, Walshy, is the Cherry Chocolate Stout from Galway Hooker.
Oh yeah. 325.
3 even.
I was going.
Still in with a shout.
0.25
Yeah, I've
out.
3 beers and I have to stay within 0.5. Yeah, this is going to go fierce well.
Let me see.
Imagine if I got 2 spot on and then there's that last one.
Lime Burner from Kinnegar Brewing.
I can't even remember what that is.
The beer.
Thanks.
From Donegal.
Appreciate that. 3.5.
On the button!
Get in, Walshy!
I won't mind.
I
I was
knew I
going to
could believe in you.
go 3.75. Oh, my heart.
Let me see. Oh, here's an interesting one, and I don't know how well received this will be from the two boys. It's been mentioned already this week, in this week's quiz. One of Nally's beers. What did you give Teeny Tiny from Dead Center?
375.
Unreal.
Yes, on the money.
Genuinely excited. Okay, so let me get this right. So you are currently out by 1
5,
point.
I think.
No, I think you're out by 1 total. So you have a range of 0.5 to play with to tie with Nally.
Oh, my
Come on,
heart.
Walshy.
No, I'm not able. Not able.
It's your turn to win one, Walshy, I believe.
Come on,
in you.
Walshy.
Oh, I still have drink
doesn't
left.
win.
That's fine.
You got this.
Come on, Walshy.
Go on, son.
Oh,
Mind
yeah,
games,
good thing.
mind
Pressure's
games
retired.
from Nally. He knows.
Come on,
yeah,
son.
Yeah.
Haven't felt pressure like this since college.
You drank Vietnam from Trouble Brewing. What did you give it?
I played it safe. 3-5.
Ah, you playing it safe.
3.25.
Go on, Walshy.
I got the
You have to stop there before John Cena copyrights us.
Yeah.
Which sadly stands us in correction of Walshy's problem with this game last week, that being out by 2 points was probably unfair, and he is the current champion of the quizzes.
Hey, well done. Dap away, my friend.
I know
Anyone who
nobody
can't see. Walshy's dapping like a madman.
I don't dab. I flex. I'm flexing on your friend, on your so-called doctor friend, Mark. I'm flexing.
I wouldn't be flexing on him, Walshy. His version of this game has just handed you the win this week. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
that's
flexing
fair.
on him,
That's fair. And now, if he
I
has,
think you want to thank him.
yeah, I would do it. And if he has a spare vaccine going around, I'd happily take it if it means I can draw it again. Just saying, one doctor to another, we can help each other out here.
And that brings us to an end for this week's episode of the Crafty Crew podcast. I think Walshy's probably the happiest of us. Well, happiest of the three lads, being the current champion.
I mean, you wouldn't be wrong.
It just means it's there for taking, Walshy, and you've got a target on your back now for next week. So you got.
I got a W. That's all that matters.
Next week we are on brown ales, which is probably a bit of a special episode because it's the first of our lost episodes that we're redoing, but with different beers, right?
The fable lost episodes.
The next 2 weeks we're gonna thrill your eardrums with the returning of the lost episodes of the Crafty Crew podcast.
So we're having the Ocean Wide from Whiplash, and we're having Bambrick's Brown Ale from Ballykilcavan. I'm looking forward already to the Whiplash one because there's maple in that, which I'm
Lovely.
thoroughly looking forward to.
And we will also, for anyone who gives a rat, we will let you know what the other brown ales we had at the time were.
Do you know who everybody loves? A winner. And do you know who that winner is? Me. I am the winner this week. And for at least
W for
7
Walshy.
days,
W for winner. W for
I will
wanker.
continue to... Hey, look, to be honest, it's been a long year. I think I deserve some
Nah, you're a big wanker. That's
championship
all you
belt.
hear.
You deserve a belt, alright.
I'll take
So as the
take the
lads
ring.
turn on themselves, I don't have to do that anymore. I'll sign us out. So it's a goodbye from Walshy,
Yeah, World
goodbye from
Wanker
Mark,
Federation.
goodbye from Nally, and from myself, Kinger. See you next week.